Well, today we're going to talk about assistive technology. I'm Jim Stachowiak. I'm the Associate Director of this center, this Iowa Center for Assistive Technology Education and Research. Have you guys seen me in any classes before?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Okay, so you... Well, I guess we can play what do you guys want to learn about today then. If you've seen some of this stuff before, we don't have to go through all of it, but we should have some things that you may not have seen before. Anybody in Foundations of Special Ed right now?
I am.
Oh, you get to see me tonight. Yeah.
I'm actually in
the
tomorrow.
online. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
On
All right.
Tuesdays.
So okay, you won't see me. So then you guys all have a general idea of what assistive technology is. It's technology that can help somebody with a disability do something that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do. There's lots of things available, especially in the education realm. We have a lot of what we deal with is for people with reading and writing difficulties, maybe physical difficulties getting onto the computer. We work a lot with mobile devices, iPads and whatnot. And, there's lots of different apps now that are helpful for folks with disabilities as well. So let's we'll show you a few things today. If it's something you've seen, let me know, and we can move on to something else. One of the things I want to show you guys, because you have access to this, is a tool called the Read and Write Gold. Have you all seen this before or no? No? Okay, good. This is a tool that is a pretty comprehensive tool for people with, mainly with learning disabilities that might struggle with reading and writing. It's got lots of tools to help access the curriculum. It can be really a general kind of universal design for learning tool too, because anybody can benefit from it. The university actually owns a site license of this tool. So because of that, you guys have the opportunity to download this for free. So if you go, are you familiar with the ITS download page? If you go to that page and you look for Read and Write Gold, you can download this for free. This is about a $650 program, so it's a nice thing to have for free. So what this tool is this tool bar that sits up across the top of the screen. A lot of people with disabilities tend to like this because it's something that it works within things you're already familiar with. So it works with Word, it works with Internet Explorer, it works with PDFs. You don't have to completely relearn a new system. Also, it's this toolbar that sits on the top of the screen, so it doesn't look like it's intruding, I suppose. It doesn't look like a special ed program per se. But it's got an awful lot of options and things you can do. You can see it's all those tools across the top and then all these things down this little double bar here. The main kind of focus on this piece is probably the reading piece. What this lets us do is it lets us read anything that we've got in a digital form. So we could take, if we struggle with reading, we could take a Word document. Let me just open up a Word document here. So here we can open up a Word document, and then what we would do is we just go hit play here.
Measuring the assistive technology,
and it's going to read this out loud for us.
Disabilities. Executive
and that's
summary.
Actually a pretty nice
Special
voice.
education
It's gotten a lot. This is a new version of this. It's gotten a lot better than the old computerized voices. I mean, it's still not James Earl Jones reading it, but it's a lot better than it's been in the past. I gotta look from Kirsten for that reference. This is you can do a lot of. There's a lot you can change with this too. So if we hit this little drop down arrow next to the play button, if you've got a student that has ADHD, you can set this to read by sentence or read by paragraph. So it's only going to read a sentence or read a paragraph, and then they're going to have to hit play to hear it again. So they're not going to, you're not going to lose attention, I suppose. If you're not going to have it read the whole paper and go, wait a minute, I'm quit paying attention on the first paragraph. You're going to have to be forced to kind of replay. You play from where you want to hear it from. It's got you got different voices that you can run on this. If we go in here, the US AVA vocalizer is the newest voice. You can see there's a Spanish voice, so if you had text in Spanish, you can read it in Spanish. If you hit search, you should be able to find lots of other, well, it doesn't have them right now, but it should have lots of other language voices in there as well. So if you had text in Norwegian, you can pull it up and read it on here. You can mess with speed, volume, pause, that kind of thing there. So that's, one way that you read. If you wanted to read PDFs, you do it a little bit differently. If you want to read Word documents, you do it a little bit differently. I have a lot of things I want to show you, so I'm not going to go into every little aspect of this. But there's different ways. One thing I will tell you is that whenever you see one of these drop-down menus for a button, at the very bottom, there's a video about how that particular button works. So you don't have to watch, you don't have to spend a whole day training. You can watch little videos on different pieces of that. One thing I will show you, let's show you PDFs. So to read a PDF, you do have to do it a little bit differently. You have to open it through this thing called PDF Aloud right here. And what this will do is if we have a PDF, it'll actually load the controls into the PDF. So this is, I guess, where it gets a little bit confusing. Because you can actually, when you get your PDF and open it up, you go to Tools, and then you see PDF Aloud toolbar. It actually you can't use these tools within the PDF. You use these tools that are embedded in here now.
Full stop. Handbook of Research on
And it'll go through and it'll read within that. But one of the big problems that people run into is that not all people with disabilities run into is that not all PDFs are accessible. And there's a lot of, especially at a university level, there's a lot of PDFs. I mean, I'm sure you guys read PDFs all the time on Icon. Well, one of the issues with PDFs is that when you scan them into a computer, the computer doesn't recognize, unless a process called optical character recognition is run on them, the computer does not recognize that there's text on this on the page. So when you just scan something in, it typically gets scanned in as an image. And that's what this has been scanned in as, is an image here. So if we go and the best way to kind of figure that out is if you go to Edit and you go to Find and you type in a word you see on the page. So let's do harm. There's harm right there. And it tells us it doesn't exist. That means that we can see it there, but the computer doesn't understand that this is text. It views this as an image. Well, this software actually has, and this is the reason the university bought this component built in called the screenshot reader. So with the screenshot reader, we can click on it, and then we can draw a box around any text that we want read out loud to us. And when we let go, it runs that process of optical character recognition on that piece, and then it reads it out loud to us. So even things that are inaccessible, we can make accessible using this. And that includes not just like these inaccessible PDFs, but if you had to go to a website that had Flash on there and text within that Flash, you could draw a box around that and have it read. If you had, if you took a picture or something, you had an image, a JPEG image of something on there, you draw a text box around that text, and it would read that as well. So it really, I mean, it's all any text you've got anywhere, as long as it's in a digital format, you can have read with this. And that's kind of for the university, that was the key component to this. I mean, in reality, what happened was they were worried about a lawsuit from inaccessible PDFs, and so they wanted to have a way that people could make them accessible on their own. Some other aspects of this, there's some pretty cool writing components to this. Let's just pull up this Word document real quick. So one of the things that, I'm just going to spell a word incorrectly here. Okay. One of the things that people with learning disabilities struggle with spell checking is not knowing what the words are in the spell check list. And if you can't read, you're going to struggle with reading what those words are. The spell checker within Read and Write Gold, if we click on that, it's going to run through, it's going to find words that are spelled incorrectly, and then it's going to bring this up where you get a list of words it thinks you might be trying to write, you get the definition and the use of the word in a sentence there. So you could come up here and think, is that the right one that I want? We can click on this, in here, hit play up here, and listen to this.
Hello, a greeting that you can use when you first see someone or when you answer the telephone. Hello, how are you today?
And if that's what you want, you can hit change and jump to the
Spell
next
check
one from
completed.
there. And I did a pretty good job of spelling in that, so that was the only issue. But so that's kind of a nice component for spell check, is to have that extra information. This is also something that's pretty helpful here. These three guys are the confusable word checkers. So if you click on the first one, It's going to scan your document. It's going to find anything that's a homophone or a confusable word, and it's going to highlight it in blue. I don't know if you can tell that some of the text colors change there. So, like, it's found needs of, summary, to, which, service, to, ensure. Highlights all those things. So now, once we've done that, we can click on the middle guy, and this is going to act like spell check now, but it's only going to use what we might be, the homophones, or what words we might be confusing here. Probably not a whole lot of kids are confusing Needs with Kneads, but I mean that's the level that it goes to. I think I'll ignore up to the, like, here's an example of to, and to. There's 3 different ways to use that. So you got the 3 spellings, you got the 3 definitions, and you got the 3 uses of the word in a sentence. And so you can go and make that change. So even if it's not showing up as spelled incorrectly in your document, this is finding where you may have had some confusion with confusable words. When you're done with this, you can go up here and hit this little X guy, and it wipes out all the blue, and you're back to, clear picture there. Any questions so far on this? No? Okay. One of the things that a lot of teachers like with this, you can turn any text into an MP3, so you can take it and turn it into an MP3 and listen to it. Kirsten's tried that with PDFs, but you don't like it, do you?
It's that Kirsten, not this Kirsten.
Me.
Oh, 2 Kirstens, crazy.
I know. And we've done some group work before. It's just especially the type of things that we're looking at with once you're in college. Like those are, it reads it word for word. So there's a lot of the parentheticals that you're getting, and you just start to lose a lot of meaning.
Well, and you also said, I liked what you said about, you tried to listen to it in the car.
Yeah, and I can't remember, like, when you're reading on a page and someone says something in class and you're like, oh, I remember where I saw that in your notes, and I can't do that because I'm like, I was by the mall. Like, I can just remember where I was, and that doesn't help me find it on the paper, so it's all right.
But you can turn it into audio if you want to listen to it. There's a translating component where you can translate into any other language that they have. But it's just Google Translate that they've hooked up to, so it's nothing too special. This is something that a lot of teachers like. It's this vocabulary list thing. And so what we do here is we can create a vocab list. And, well, let's go ahead and do it and kind of show you how it works. What do you want our vocab list to be? It's Monday morning, it's cold. I'm going to make you guys interact with me a little bit here. Vocab list, what do we want?
Spaghetti.
Oh, shoot, you have to spell that for me. Is that right?
I think so.
Alright, so now we're going foods, so you got to give me other foods. Other foods. Come on.
Apple.
Give me 2 more.
Ice cream.
Okay, 1 more.
Popcorn.
Popcorn. Alright, I'm going to throw 1 more in here that isn't food. Just, you'll see why in a minute. Okay, so we put all our...
Food.
Could be, I suppose. We put in all the words we want in our vocab list. We choose include image, and we hit OK. And what this is going to do is it's going to create a list for us that gives us the word, the meaning, and a symbol attached to that as well. So if you've got kids that are struggling learners with struggling to pick up language, you can do this. If you're using this with English language learners, you can create these things. And because this is a Word document, let's go down to mouse here for a second. If you go to mouse, there's multiple definitions for the word mouse, so it throws both in there. But because this is a Word document, all you have to do is click on this and delete it. And you can get rid of that real easily. So it's really easy to create this and then share it with your students also.
If we download this while we're still here at the university, can we use it after? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
You just won't get that. Once they update to Read and Write 12, you're not going to be able to use
but
that.
Just this.
Yeah, you'll be able to use this. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I mean, that's kind of just the basics of some of Read and Write Gold. We could spend all day looking at this. There's ways to highlight text and save that. There's ways to use graphic organizers. There's lots in there, but I want to show you guys more than just that today. So we're gonna skip that. We're gonna get out of Read and Write Gold. Let me show you one other thing. So if you like Read and Write Gold and you like that screenshot reader, there's another tool that's available to you on the download site called Snap and Read. Let's see if this allows us to work. Okay, so Snap and Read looks just like that up there. What Snap and Read, the company that developed this said, there's a lot of these comprehensive tools out there, like Read and Write Gold or Kurzweil, that have a million different options to them, and that can be confusing for a lot of kids. So a kid that just needs it to read, they don't need 200 options on there, and it can be confusing. So they pared it down and basically just created a button that acts just like the screenshot reader with Read and Write Gold. So if you needed to read anything that you open up, you can use Snap and Read on and have it read out loud. So we'll go back in here and we'll open, just open this text thing. I'm going to zoom it. This is a picture I took of a journal article, or a magazine article. We'll zoom in on this a little bit. And then if we come up here and we click this, you'll see it gives us these crosshairs to help line up what we want to draw our box around. We can draw our box around this text. Let go, runs that optical character recognition.
Product range is based on universal design for learning, UDL. Using the methods of UDL, teachers can present the same information in a variety of ways to enable every.
Okay, so you can see it went through and it'll read that. That's off an image. It'll read off Word documents, PDFs, internet sites, you name it. If you have text on the computer, you can use this to read it. And it's not, it's a very simple process. There's not much you need to learn. There's not much you need to know to be able to use this effectively. We're working with a group of kids up at Roosevelt Middle School in Cedar Rapids. Their principal bought this for the school, and they have it in a lab that several kids are working with it on, and they are able to pick it up pretty easily, and several of them use it to read things that would be difficult for them to read otherwise. It's not perfect. You can see here, some of those words are underlined in red. When it's underlined in red, that's supposed to be a visual indication to you that it's not 100% sure that it's going to read something, but it's not 100% sure it got it correct. If it gets to the point where it really isn't sure, it'll highlight it in red and just skip it. So your best bet for having something like this read is if you have it in a font that is sans serif. So I think Tahoma, they say, is the best font to read in with this. That's where you're going to get your best recognition. But that's another tool that you've got free access to. So you think it would ever benefit a student that you might be working with down the road, it's certainly worthwhile to go to the download site and download it. This is a lot, because it's only one, it's like $130 or something, so it's a lot cheaper for a student. For a school, I think it's like $400 for a site license. Any questions on that? What do I have you guys still, 10, 20? Okay. Before we get out the computer, let me show you a couple other things. Have you guys seen camera mouse before? Have I showed you that before? Okay. A couple of you have, a couple of you haven't. We'll show it real quick. If you can't physically get on the computer using a mouse with your hands, one of the options that you have now is you can download this free tool. It's called Camera Mouse. So with Camera Mouse, what happens is, as long as you have a webcam on your computer, you can find a point on your face, click on it, it's going to calibrate, and then once it calibrates, it moves to the middle of the screen, and now I can move my head, and the mouse is going to follow where I go and turn that into mouse movement on the screen that way. So if I can't access, again, a mouse with my hands, I can go to cameramouse.org, download that for free, and go from there. You guys all seen speech recognition software before? No? Okay, let's look at that real quick, and then we'll get on the iPad and show you some iPad apps that can be helpful. So, one of the tools, the kind of premier tool for speech recognition software is called Dragon Naturallyspeaking. It's been around for a real long time. I think they're on version 12.5 right now. They're probably due for an update pretty soon. We might be getting 13 pretty soon. But Dragon allows us to basically talk. It allows us to do anything we can do with a mouse or a keyboard using our voice. So we get on the computer. We set up Dragon. We have to set up a user profile. This is called a speaker dependent system. So you set up a user profile. It kind of learns how you speak. It can improve over time. You can train words into it, and it's supposed to get better. It claims 99% accuracy. out of the box, and you know what? It's actually pretty close to that. So let me just let me open up one of these. I'm gonna restart later. So you can see Dragon is a toolbar that sits up across the top of the screen. Again, now basically what we should be able to do is, oh no, we're not training this. Never mind. I must have gotten into training somehow. Once you try it, you don't have to train this tool to get it to work. You used to have to read about an hour's worth of training to get it to work effectively, and that typically would be like, you know, reading Kennedy's inaugural address or something like that. I can't access any of these. There we go. Okay, now you don't have to do that training. You can open up out of the box and you can be pretty good with it. But if you start training, you have to go through it completely before you're allowed to do anything else. So that profile had me stuck. So let's open this up and we'll show you kind of how it works here. I'm just going to go open up a Dragon pad and we will... So the cool thing about this is for people with physical disabilities, they can do anything that they could otherwise do on the computer with their hands using their voice. For people with learning disabilities, this could open up a world of writing, is it never spells a word incorrectly. And that can be a double-edged sword. It doesn't, I didn't say it doesn't make mistakes. It doesn't spell anything incorrectly. When it makes a mistake, what it does is it replaces the word that you want it to be in there with a correctly spelled incorrect word. So there's not a little red squiggly line underneath it indicating it's wrong. So you have to be a little bit more diligent about editing with this too. But, you know, if you struggle with spelling, this could be a positive thing. So let's take a look at this. Scratch that. This is a demonstration of Dragon Naturallyspeaking, period. Dragon allows me to dictate text into the computer using my voice, period. I have never actually trained on this computer, so it's actually doing a pretty good job of picking up what I say, period. The key to using Dragon successfully, correct cue, choose one, is to speak clearly and to speak in phrases or sentences, period. So, I mean, that's doing a pretty good job of picking up what I'm saying. Now, the reason you'd want to speak in phrases or sentences, it actually does, I mean, we'll say it looks at context. It doesn't do that. It's looking at models of language. But it's a little, you can understand it basically by thinking about it as it looks at context of what you're saying. So, you know, the word there, there's 3 different spellings of that depending on how you use it, but you say it the same way every time. So this is going to look at other words around those words to figure out which version to put in there. So we could say, I'm going over there, period. They're coming over here, period. I'm going to their house, period. And, you know, we say the word there 3 different ways, or say it the same way, use it 3 different ways, and it's able to pick up what we're trying to get at there. It does have a pretty good sized vocabulary. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. It doesn't have everything, though. My name is Jim Stahoviak. Oh, well, I trained that. That didn't, I trained that particular word in and saved the profile. So it typically wouldn't have my name in there, but you can go in and you can train individual words in there and get it to do that as well. Any questions about that?
How do you get commas?
How do you get comma? Just say comma.
Okay.
So
What if you wanted to actually write the word comma then?
Okay. Well, if you wanted to write the word comma, then we have to say it in the how. Let's try this. Period. A comma is a type of punctuation. Period. Scratch that. The comma is a type of punctuation. Period. Well. Correct fee, comma. C-O-M-M-A. There's ways of spelling. We could change it to spell mode and spell it better. That one is, this is the first time I've ever had anybody ask me about comma. Usually it's period. How would you get it to spell out period? and I think you write the word period a little more commonly than you would write the word comma. So it's easier to get that one to work than the word comma. We could say like, the Middle Ages is an interesting period of time, period. And you can see based on context, knowing that it's part of the sentence, it'll spell it out as opposed to putting the punctuation in. But comma, that's one we have to work on. I've not tried that one before. But that's the theory behind it. With any of the commands that you would give it, you would, if you say it by itself, it gives it the command. If you say it as part of a sentence, it should write out that as part of the sentence. Any questions on that? Okay. Do you guys remember some of your questions you sent me in email? Because I want to make sure I answer any of the questions.
I will log on to... Anybody remember their discussion question?
I remember mine. What is the most commonly used type of assistive technology? I know it's hard because, like, especially that thing you have to, like, differentiate between students and their needs and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But would you say there's one overarching, like, read and write goal or something like that?
Well, I would say, based on the fact that, learning disabilities we consider a high incidence disability, you're going to have more kids with learning disabilities. Your most common type is probably that category, that text reading tool.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that, read and write gold or Kurzweil or snap and read. Something that reads text is probably your most common type of technology. I don't know that I'd be able to answer what the most common title is. Kirsten, you have any idea on that from your days at the DE?
I think it depends on what state you're in, like Iowa,
No,
and
that's
it depends
true.
on how things move around, but probably the reading ones, but Kurzweil
Well, Iowa was Kurzweil,
for a while, and then now...
but read and write with their pricing structure kind of made big inroads in a lot of places. Kurzweil's kind of fallen apart.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, that's generally, I'd say, your writing, your reading and writing kind of tools like that would be. Any other questions? Let's show you the iPad. There's a lot of... Any of you guys have iPads? Okay. There's a lot of really cool accessibility things actually built into the iPad. It's a pretty accessible tool in general. And if you go to Settings, and you go to General, you can see the little tab that says Accessibility there. If we tap on that, you're going to see there's tools for people with visual impairments. That Voiceover is a text... is a screen reader for the iPad. So what that'll do, a lot of people think screen reader, they think reading text like read and write, but what a screen reader does is it really gives auditory information for somebody with a visual impairment to be able to navigate a little bit better in a device like this. So when we turn VoiceOver on, when we touch something, it reads what that is instead of opening it up. To open it up, we have to double tap. It changes the way that we scroll a little, or that we control it a little bit. There's zoom features, guided access. That's another one that's that a lot of teachers like. What guided access does, it allows us to lock students into an app. So if a lot of times people use it with communication apps if they want students to be working on their with their communication app. If the kid wants to be playing Angry Birds, you turn on guided access and open up that app, and it locks you in that app. They can do anything within it, but as soon as they try and get out, it's not going to let them do that. Switch control, that's new. So we could actually now set up the iPad so that we can use it without having to touch the touch screen. So if you had somebody with a physical disability that couldn't touch the touch screen, we could go into switch control. And I don't have my Bluetooth switch in here, so I can't show it to you right now. But you can set up different switches, and actually you can set up, so an external switch is the best way to use this. It's the most reliable way. You can set up the screen so that what's going to happen is it'll scroll through all the choices. When it gets to the choice you want, you touch anywhere on the screen and it'll activate that. Or, and this isn't quite good enough yet, but hopefully they'll continue to work on it, you could set up the camera as a switch. So the idea being you'd set up the iPad in front of you, you'd have it scanning at certain intervals across to each of the options, and when it got to the option that you want, you'd move your head to the left, and it would see that as an accepted switch movement, basically. You get to set up a left head movement, a right head movement to do different things with that. So the fact that they built that in is pretty cool. It's something that is only going to continue to get better. But there's a lot of cool features within the built-in accessibility. Let me show you this one. This is something that a lot of people don't realize is there. If we go into VoiceOver, one of the ways to control VoiceOver is through this rotor. And basically, if you can set up any of the things in here so that when you take your finger and twist it like a dial on the screen, it'll allow you to control, to move by characters, words, line, heading, links. So somebody that had a visual impairment, if they set links in here and they twisted the dial to link and then flipped their finger across the screen, if they were on an internet site, it would just bounce from link to link and read them what those were if they wanted to go to it. The cool part for this is at the bottom it says handwriting there. So let's say you're working with somebody who's blind and can't see the keyboard on the iPad to type, but they want to be able to write an email or write a note or write something on here, but they can't type very well, or they don't want to listen to the whole scanning through the whole keyboard. We turn VoiceOver on.
Note, text field.
So this is what VoiceOver sounds like. You can see it tells us we're in notes, we're in text field, it's landscape. I'm going to take my fingers like this, I'm going to twist until I get to handwriting on here.
Handwriting.
Okay.
Lowercase.
So now it's set to handwriting. So now I can take my finger and anywhere on the iPad I can write in lowercase and it's going to type what I write on here. So I don't have to use the keyboard. I can write.
N.
That's not what I want. So a backspace is two fingers swiping back.
N. H. E. L. L. O.
And then two fingers
Space.
right
Hello.
is going to put a space in there. So we can go through and we can write on here and have it typed for us, which is pretty cool. And that could be helpful for people that can't use the keyboard just in general. Let's get out of VoiceOver.
App switcher. Notes. Alert. Access selected. VoiceOver.
Okay, we'll turn VoiceOver off. Other apps, this is using this as a communication device is probably the most popular. Well, I don't know, maybe not most popular, but this was kind of the first way that people realized that the iPad could be used as an assistive technology tool. So when you start seeing, for a little while it was when you'd see news stories of somebody using an iPad as assistive technology, it was as a communication device. And the reason for that, so this is pro loquo to go, this is probably the most commonly known communication device built into the iPad. The reason that this is so popular is because communication devices in general, a dedicated communication device, is pretty expensive. I mean, it can run anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000, and it was typically pretty bulky too. So they're pretty large, pretty fat, pretty durable, and they'd be a touch screen that would have something like this on it that somebody could then use these little boxes to build communication and speak out loud. So when this comes along, an iPad's $500. This app is $150. No, about $200, I think. Kirsten, do you remember, is it $200 for Pro Loco?
I don't know.
I'm totally drawing a blank right now. I think it's about $200. So that's expensive as far as an app goes. But when you compare it to what it could be taking the place of and being more portable for somebody, this has become a real popular way to use the iPad. So basically, the way this is set up is anything that's just a box is going to add a word to your white box up top there. Build your language. Anything that's a file folder is going to take you to another category. So you've really got unlimited language with this. So we could build language. We could say I want, and then we can go into food, and it's still breakfast time. I want bacon. How's that? And so then when you build I want bacon, you tap up in the white area up there.
I want bacon.
And it's gonna play that back out loud for you. So this is a really it's a really nice tool for communication if you've got somebody that can use their hands and isn't going to be constantly dropping something like this. If they're not if they can handle carrying and holding something like this, this is a good option for them. So there's other communication tools as well. Soniflex, GoTalk. They're all very similar in what they do. They just have different, symbol sets sometimes, or they're organized a little bit differently in some situations. But this is a really popular way to use the iPad as a communication device. There are reading options built into this as well. There's a few apps for reading. I think the two best are probably Read to Go and Voice Dream Reader. Anybody heard of Bookshare before? So what Bookshare is a service if you've got a student who has a print disability. And to be considered a print disability, it would have to be a physical disability where you couldn't turn the pages of a book, visual impairment where you couldn't see the text, or a learning disability of an organic nature. Basically, a doctor signs off on it. We won't get into organic nature. That can take all day. But you have access to Bookshare. What Bookshare is a free service that converts books into accessible formats for students that would need them in that way. So they could get a free membership to this, and they could basically get any book that they need through that. There's over 225,000 titles, I think, in Bookshare right now. So if we open up Read to Go, that's Bookshare's app. That is a $20 app. You can see here, we can search for any book. What's a book that you guys like? Anybody have a title?
Kill a Mockingbird.
To Kill a Mockingbird. I asked this once to a bunch of older women that were in a summer institute, and they suggested 50 Shades of Grey, but we did not download that. So we go on here, search for To Kill a Mockingbird. Hopefully it should be finding it a lot quicker than that. Well, I promise you it's in there. I've seen it in there before. But we're just going to show you what we already have. Typically, and I don't know, that's an issue with the internet here, because typically it finds it like that, and you download it in a second, and then you've got, here's the Hunger Games.
Fire, the Hunger Games trilogy.
You hit read,
A Penning Book.
and it'll take us, we can get to, well, this takes us right to where we left off, but we can get in here, we can hit play.
The Victory Tour makes that impossible.
It's going to read that, and it's going to highlight it for us as it
Strategically
reads.
placed almost midway
Very simple to use, access to thousands of books, great tool for somebody with a learning disability. The voice leaves a little bit to be desired with this one, but that's where this other one might come into play. This is called Voice Dream Reader. Voice Dream Reader, what this lets us do is if you hit that little plus key on the bottom, you can actually pull things in from Dropbox. So you can pull in, a Word document, a PDF, any type of text that somebody might share with you in Dropbox, or you can share it yourself. You pull in web articles via the web browser here, or you can link it to your Bookshare account, and you can pull in Bookshare books through this also. So let's try To Kill a Mockingbird in here and see if it works. See if works any faster through this.
You put to
Search-
mill.
What did I do? To Mill a Mockingbird? It does not have that book. There we go. Okay, so it shows up pretty quickly. We can hit download. We have a student that we assign it to, prepares the file, pulls it out of here. Within 30 seconds or so, we've got To Kill a Mockingbird set up within this. And now we can open that up, and you can see this font that they use here. This is one of the fonts they use. It's called Open Dyslexic. So if you had a student that had dyslexia, the idea behind this font is that the bottom of it, of each word, is thicker to help anchor it to the page for somebody if it was going to float on them. It tries to make different letters that might be confusable stand out a little bit better. You can change the fonts to this, but then when we get in here, we can hit.
When he was nearly 13,
We can go ahead and have
brother
it
Jim
read.
got his arm badly broken at the...
That's the same voice that we heard before, but here they actually have other voices. You can go to Add Voices. You can go into the voice store. You can go to English, and like Kate is a pretty good voice.
Experience the world-class natural sounding
I mean, that's
text-to-speech
slow, but we
GTS
can change
today.
the speed there. But that's a
You
lot
can
more
now
natural
power your
sounding.
applications with it.
Or Paul is another natural sounding
Experience
voice.
the world-class natural
A little bit
sound.
better than what we have access to with some of those other ones. So this is a tool where we can change the voice on that and have access to a lot more in terms of reading as well. With writing, one of the neat tools that's out there now, one of my favorites is a tool called Co-Writer US. What Co-Writer US does is it's going to be a word prediction tool. We're going to we'll just get rid of this, and I'll show you this. You'll see why we were doing that in just a second. Okay, so this is a word prediction tool. So basically, you guys all use word prediction. You use it to help type faster when you're texting somebody. This is developed to help those that struggle with spelling more so. So if I were to, let's say I'm a big baseball fan, I like the Tigers. Let's say I'm writing about the Tigers and I want to write about who my favorite player is. If I start writing you're going to see it's going to start predicting what we're trying to write here above the keyboard. We can listen to what those are by swiping our finger across them. Swiping across.
Mysteriously.
If we tap on it, it'll choose it and add it to our document. Now, where this is a little bit different than your standard word prediction is this is a tool that is going to do well at guessing what they call creative spellings. So if you spell something phonetically, it's probably going to guess it in our list here. If you leave out vowels, it's going to be able to guess it as well. So they have this flex spelling is what they call it. So if I want to write, say, my favorite player, let's say I don't know how to spell favorite, but I know there's an F and a V and an R in it. You can see with FVR it was able to guess favorite as an option. So I can swipe across it and I can click it and it's going to add that into my document. Now where this gets really cool, we'll just say player is, if I go to this dictionary button up at the top, you can create your own dictionaries in this. You can create topic-specific dictionaries. Because let's say I'm writing about the Detroit Tigers. They're not going to have a bunch of players' names in your standard word prediction dictionary from that. But if I go up here into the topic area and I start typing, you can see I already created this one, so I created it and it exists within the app. But I can go over here and I type in Detroit, I get Detroit, Tigers, Lions, Red Wings, Pistons. I get all those topics in here. So if I chose Tigers from there, what it would do is it's going to go to the Wikipedia page and it's going to grab a whole bunch of text off that and create a topic-specific dictionary and load it into the app. So we can do this with anything. So with the Tigers, I can come back here, turn that on, and then go back into what I'm writing. And let's say it's Justin Verlander's my favorite player. If I start typing J, look at that, his name pops up in there. That's not going to be something that you're typically going to have with other word prediction programs that are going to that aren't going to be able to have that. We had a student in here, there's a 6th grader about a month ago now. He was dyslexic. He was really struggling with spelling things correctly. And he had to do a book report on Muhammad Ali. So we pulled up this app. We created an Ali dictionary for him, and then what he was doing was using the little microphone at the bottom, speaking what he wanted to say about Ali in there. It was writing, and then he'd use the speaker up top to listen to what it said, and if it made a mistake, he would go to that word and correct it by typing and using the word prediction here. So you can combine multiple things, and it made a huge difference for him in just the 20 minutes we were working on it. But so those are some apps. You got about 3 minutes left. So was there other questions you guys had from your discussion that you wanted me to answer?
This is one I just thought of.
Yeah.
I use a Chromebook, and they're getting more popular. Is there like assistive technology for that yet, or
for the Chromebook itself, there isn't, because you can't really load too much software onto those. There's just not enough memory to run that. But what is happening, and where kind of the next frontier with assistive technology is in built-in web browser technology. So you go to the Chrome browser and you can download all those extensions. We're starting to see lots of extensions be built in for assistive technology. And in fact, I was just at a conference a couple weeks ago where multiple companies said that's where the bulk of their R&D money is going right now, is into web extensions. Read and Write Gold has an extension called Read and Write for Google Docs. where anything that's in a Google Doc, it has pieces of read and write gold. Basically, you could have that read out loud. You could do the vocab list. You can translate, do that kind of thing. There's a speech recognition tool called Voice Note that's available through the Chrome browser right now. It's very minimal what's there now, but we're expecting there to be a boom in that over the next few years, because Co-Writer, they're actually working on a web browser extension for Chrome with Co-Writer. That's their next step too. So that would be kind of where we'd be looking to go with those types of tools. And what's really neat about that idea is that if you load things onto a browser on Chrome, it's attached to your Google account. So you can pick that up on any computer. It's not that you're tied to a computer with software anymore. I could get on your Chromebook, type in my login name, and it's going to pull up within your browser the extensions that I have. So I can do that anywhere. And the idea being that they can't do it yet within a Chrome on an iPad, but the idea would be that that wouldn't be even device specific. We could do it on a mobile device. We could do it on a computer. We can pull it up anywhere. We can have that browser. So that's the next wave. Any other questions?
Do you still have something that reviews apps or something like that from last year?
Yeah, we do. Here, check this out. If you guys want to see more about apps.
This is important. Write this in that notebook.
Icater Toolkit. That is a free app that we created. Every Wednesday at 3 o'clock we do what we call an app review. And why it's not showing up on there right now, I don't know. Oh, there it is. We do an app review every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. It's about 20 minutes. It's aimed at teachers. So everything that we've ever done is archived on here. So you can go here and you can view any of these app reviews that we've done. You'll also see our app tip of the day right in the middle there. That's what Kirsten and Jenny spend a lot of their time doing, is coming up with these tips. And then we've got connections to us. If you're on Twitter, you can follow us, Iowa_Icater. You get our tip of the day every day through that. Also, you can find those app reviews on our website, education.uiowa.edu/Icater. And then there's a little tab that says webinars. You can view anything that we've done on there. But that'll give you some ideas of a lot of the different types of apps that are available. I think it's 10:20, so I suppose I gotta let you guys go. But also, you're always welcome to come back here if you ever want to learn any more about any of this stuff. Borrow any of this stuff. Try it with students sometime. We're here to help you kind of do that. So feel free to come back, and we'd be glad to help you with anything you're interested in assistive tech wise. All right. Thanks, guys.